From gas pumps to grocery aisles, everything that makes inflation feel real to Americans.
Logging pod starts like a conversation. Cup of coffee with no destination. Just voices trying to understand what's happening across this land. From your stories told to the pages turned. Every question, every word, supported by SheSharesStudios.net.
Hello, and welcome to the Vlogging Pod. Inflation. Inflation is the gradual increase in prices over time, which also means that purchasing power of your money decreases. In simpler terms, your dollar does not stretch as far as it should, or it used to. The same amount of money that once filled a grocery cart, paid a utility bill, or filled a gas tank suddenly does not, and it does a lot less. We see inflation almost everywhere in everyday life, at grocery stores, at the gas pumps, in rent payments, insurance bills, fast food prices, building supplies, vehicles, even basic household products. So now that we know what inflation is, let's take a deeper dive into what has helped cause it over the last couple years and why people are still feeling it so strongly today. One major issue that heavily influenced inflation discussions throughout 2025 was tariffs. A tariff is essentially a tax placed on imported goods coming into the country. The company importing those products usually pays that cost first, but businesses often pass at least part of those added costs onto consumers through higher prices. So if tariffs affect steel, lumber, electronics, machinery, car parts, or household products, those price increases can spread outward into construction costs, vehicles, repairs, appliances, and products sitting on store shelves. And even the discussion of tariffs can affect prices because companies and markets often react before policies are fully implemented. Some businesses increase prices early in preparation for what they believe may become more expensive later. Energy prices also continued playing a major role throughout 2025 and into 2026. Oil is part of a global market, which means instability around the world can affect prices here at home. Concerns involving shipping routes, international conflict, and tension involving Iran all have the ability to influence global oil prices. And when fuel prices rise, those increases often spread outward into shipping, transportation, food delivery, airline costs, manufacturing, and eventually consumer prices. Another thing utilities and infrastructure discussions right now is the rapid expansion of large AI data centers across parts of the country. These facilities require enormous amounts of electricity, cooling infrastructure, and in some cases, large amounts of water, depending on how they are designed and operate. As infrastructures expand to support those facilities, utility systems often require upgrades, increased power demand, additional water resources, and expanded grid capacity. And those rising costs eventually get passed down to everyday utility consumers through higher electric, water, infrastructure-related costs. Housing costs have also remained a major pressure point. In many areas, large investment groups and corporations have continued buying large numbers of residential properties, reducing the number of homes available for individual buyers and first-time homeowners. As more homes shift toward corporate ownership and rental markets, housing prices and rent costs can continue to rise in many communities. Health insurance costs have also remained part of the broader inflation discussion. After the passage of what was called the Big Beautiful Bill, discussions surrounding federal healthcare funding, Affordable Care Act protections, and marketplace subsidy structures became part of a larger concern involving future insurance costs. The Affordable Care Act was originally designed to help people who struggle to afford health insurance, people with pre-existing medical conditions, and people who previously risked losing coverage or being denied affordable plans altogether. Programs like the Affordable Care Act also help create financial guardrails within the larger insurance system. Because when government backed protections, subsidies, and marketplace regulations exist, they can help place limits and pressures on pricing structures throughout the broader insurance industry, including plans many Americans receive through employers or purchase privately themselves. As portions of funding and subsidy structures face restrictions or reductions or uncertainty, many consumers can end up facing higher out of pocket costs, deductibles, and insurance premiums. Corporate pricing has also remained part of the national conversation. Some companies face legitimate increases in transportation, labor, and materials. But there are also have been ongoing discussions surrounding companies continuing to charge elevated prices after consumers have already adjusted to paying more during early inflation spikes. At the same time, it is important to keep the conversation grounded in facts. Inflation did not rise nonstop every single month. There were periods where inflation slowed down and dipped compared to earlier spikes. But one thing that often confuses people is that lower inflation does not necessarily mean lower prices. It usually means prices are still rising, just at a slower pace than before. That is why many Americans may hear reports saying inflation cooled somewhat, while still feeling financial pressure every time they shop, pay bills, or fill their gas tank. Inflation is not usually caused by one single thing. It is often several pressures happening at once: global instability, energy markets, tariffs, housing shortages, insurance increases, corporate pricing, transportation costs, infrastructure strain, supply concerns, investor reactions, consumer behavior. All of these things can overlap and push prices upward at the same time. And for everyday families, inflation is not just an economic term discussed during elections or a cable news broadcast. It is something people feel in a very personal way when paychecks stop stretching as far as they once did. Today's sources come from U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index Summary, Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, What Causes Inflation? International Monetary Fund, What is Inflation? Council of Foreign Relations, Why Oil Prices to Fluctuate? Tax Foundation, Tariff and Their Economic Effects. Reuters, Data Centers and Utility Cost Concerns. Healthcare.gov, Affordable Care Act, Marketplace Information. Thank you for listening. Until next time, bye bye for now.